What's up guys, how are you all doing? I'm good, you good? Great. Right, so this week I was on Facebook and I was going through my timeline and this little notification came up and it said I was tagged in a post. And it was a post and it said, go through and pick your top 12 favourite albums that you've listened to in your life. Not too much thinking, just straight from the point. And that's what I thought I'd do this week, go through the list of my top 12 albums I've listened to in my whole entire life. So let's go. I just want to say before I start this, these aren't in any particular order, these are just on my top 12 favourite albums I've listened to in my whole entire life. And number one is Eminem with Curtain Call. Now I remember when this album came out and I just loved it. It was just so cool. I didn't listen to it straight away because of I was quite young. But I just remember listening to Eminem so much when I was growing up, and that was the highlight album to me. That was my favourite album he released because it had all the hits on it. It had The Real Slim Shady, it had Stan, it had so many on. It had Without Me, it had so many of just the classic Eminem songs on it, and that's why it's on my list. Next one is Busted, Ticket for Everyone. I remember a really specific memory of when we went to go and buy a car and my sister put this on whilst my mum and dad were paying for it, and we were just sitting in the car listening to Busted. I used to love that album. It used to be on repeat all the time in my house, and it's Busted are one of my favourite bands ever. I'm going to see them in May actually. I just think they're such a cool band. I've always liked them. I like the McBusted thing, I like McFly. And yeah, just Ticket for Everyone is definitely their best album. And number 3 is McFly, Room on the Third Floor. And I can actually remember this was the very first album I ever brought. I remember that. That was the very first album I ever brought. The first single I brought was... what song was it? It was the Comic Relief song that they did. Oh, what was it?
It's All About You.
Thank you. It was All About You. My dad, everyone. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Right, number 4 is JLS Jukebox. I have been a fan of JLS since X Factor, and just to me, the standout album to me was Jukebox. It was the best album, in my opinion, they made. It had some of the best songs they released on them, like She Makes Me Wanna. They just had so many good songs on that one album. It was just an album I'd repeat all and all the time. And it was just brilliant. Number 5 is Fall Out Boy with Save Rock and Roll. Now, I was a fan of Fall Out Boy because of my cousins when they started around about 2005, that kind of era. For songs like Sugar We're Going Down, Thanks for the Memories, all of them kind of songs I remember growing up to and listening to, and they were just one of my favourite bands. And I remember in 2012 my friend messaged me and said they're making a new album, and I was just so excited. And Save Rock and Roll is just an amazing... If you haven't listened to any of Fall Out Boy's new music they've done since a few years ago, so you don't think they'll be as good, listen to it because it is just amazing. And I don't think there's a lot of people doing music like how they are right now. They're doing really, really, really cool, just really clever music you can just sit down and relax to and just vibe to all the time. It's a brilliant album. So is the new one, American Beauty, American Psycho. But I absolutely love Save Rock and Roll, and that's at number 5.
At number 6, you could have Nana Muscuri, I'm a Big Fat Greek Bird. But that's only if you like Nana Muscuri.
At number 6, I've got Green Day, American Idiot. Now, I can't describe to you how much I love this album. I've got this album. I've got it here. Here. This is my copy of American Idiot. I've had this for ages, and I've had it downloaded on my iPod for years. This is my favourite, my favourite rock album ever. This is just unbelievable. If you have never listened to this album, I swear to God, listen to this album. This is one of the best pieces of rock music I have ever heard in my life. No, I remember growing up with this album, listening to it all the time on the radio, and it's songs like American Idiot and Jesus of Suburbia and Time of Your Life, all them songs that are just so famous now. I just love them, and they're famous more for this album than any other album. It sold millions. It's even been made into a musical apparently. It's just an amazing, amazing album. Green Day, American Idiot, listen to it. If you have not listened to this album, listen to this album. And number 7 is Michael Jackson, Thriller. Now, I grew up listening to Michael Jackson. I grew up listening to loads of 80s artists like Sister Sledge, Beach Boys, Marvin Gaye, Diana Ross, all them people, and I love them. I just love 80s music. But Michael Jackson, he's just the king, and Thriller was just the biggest album of all time. And just every song on it, that and Back Off the Wall, I have to say. Them two albums are just the signature best 80s albums ever in my opinion. 8 is Ed Sheeran Plus. Now I love Plus for Don't get me wrong, I don't hate Multiply, I love it. I think it is just as good in my opinion. But I was listening to Ed Sheeran a lot before he got famous. And to have that album with all these songs that I'd heard, like on SBTV and all that, on one album, and him to finally make it, was really something for me, because he was like the first artist I started following before he was famous. And he's just amazing, Ed Sheeran. I just love everything. He's just a brilliant artist. So yeah, Ed Sheeran plus. Now another artist is the same kind of person. He's called Ben Howard. Now if you haven't heard of Ben Howard, go and check him out. He released an album in about 2012, 2013 called Every Kingdom, and it was his first debut album. Oh my god, it's amazing. He was a friend with Ed Sheeran. It's got songs like Keep Your Head Up, Keep Your Heart Strong. It's just got some amazing songs on this album, and it's a brilliant acoustic album. If you love the kind of music Ed Sheeran does, like the kind of music James Bay does, right, listen to Ben Howard if you haven't, because he's an amazing artist. He also brought out a new album I think about a year ago, yeah, and that one's just as good. But Every Kingdom is a fantastic album. Please go and check that guy out, Ben Howard. At number 10 is one of my, honestly, swear to God, one of my favourite albums ever. Like, I think this is probably in the top 3. If I had to put these in a certain order, this would definitely be in the top 3, and that is Bob Marley, Legend. He's just an amazing artist, and I love that kind of music. I've grown up with all different kinds of music, and reggae is one of my favourite. But Bob Marley is just unbelievable. I love songs like Three Little Birds, Buffalo Soldier, Redemption songs, stuff like that, Jamming. All them songs that are so famous now are all on that one album. And there's like a live version. If you haven't got Legend and you love Bob Marley, it'll practically have every single song you love by Bob Marley on one album. Get it? It's amazing. At number 11 is Paramore, and it's a self-titled one they brought out about 3 years ago. I think it came out in about 2012, called Paramore. This album is just amazing. I loved Riot, and I loved all them albums. Again, it was like, I grew up at the time of Fall Out Boy, Green Day, if you haven't noticed, by the way. And Paramore was one of those bands. So was My Chemical Romance, but I love that band, but they're not as big to me as some other bands. But Paramore, the new one, the latest one they did a few years ago, if you haven't listened to it, it's got songs like Still Into You and In It Fun and all them kind of songs. They're absolutely brilliant album. It's just a really cool album. That's my number 11. And my final album is Olly Murs, Right Place, Right Time. Now I liked Olly Murs from when he was on the X Factor. I thought he was an amazing artist. But to me, I loved the first album, but Right Place, Right Time, his third album, was just it was really special. It had so many good songs on to me, and I think it's the best album he's made yet. I mean, I love the new one, Never Been Better, but I still think Right Place, Right Time is Olly Murs' best album still. Alright, so that's my list of my top 12 favourite albums of my life. What do you think? Do you have the same albums as me? Did you have complete albums? Let me know. I think this is a really cool thing, because I love music, and it's like part of our lives, and we listen to it all the time, and it's never going to go away, and it's like gives you memories and makes you think of certain times of your life. So if you have the same kind of artists, let me know. If you have different artists, let me know. Like, subscribe if you're new. Put your comments down below to let me know what artists you liked. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in next week's video. Goodbye.